Hey you guys, how's it going? I am here today to show you my entire 4K movie collection. I've been collecting on this format for about two years now, and I've just recently picked up my 50th 4K title, and I figured now would be a good time and a good amount to show you all the 4K movies I own, kind of tell you about the format, what I think of it. Now there are a handful of movies in here that I haven't seen in 4K yet, but for the ones that I have seen in 4K, I'll definitely tell you my thoughts on it, and also tell you my short thoughts on the film as well. So without further ado, let's jump into my entire 4K movie collection. Alright, so the first one we have is a Marvel title, that is Ant-Man and the Wasp, with this really cool lenticular slipcover. I don't really like the movie. I think it's very mediocre and fine, but 4K looks great and a great addition to the Marvel collection. Next up, we have a DC title, and that is Aquaman. I probably won't watch this movie again. I actually didn't get this movie, my brother did. He really likes Aquaman. I probably won't watch this movie again, and if I do, it won't be for another year or two. It's just a very long movie, and I just thought it was mediocre and fine, but I'm pretty sure the 4K will look great. Another Marvel title, we have Avengers Infinity War. Such an awesome 4K, looks amazing, and the movie itself is just astounding. Great movie and a great looking 4K as well. Next up, we have Batman Begins, the start of Christopher Nolan's awesome and perfect Batman trilogy. Love this movie, is so good, and recently I had the urge to watch these Batman movies again. I probably will have to do that because they are just really awesome, and it looks great in 4K too. Staying in the realm of Batman, we have Batman v Superman Dawn of Justice. I actually haven't seen the entire movie of this on 4K, but I saw like the opening Batman prologue, and it looked really great in 4K. And movie, I think it's fine. I don't love it, but there are definitely some redeeming qualities to it. Overall, not a terrible movie, but one that did look really great in 4K from the first few bits that I saw. Black Panther comes next. Really great looking 4K as well. The sequence in South Korea, I believe. That looks really great in 4K, and the ending battle too also looks great, except for the part where they're falling down that shaft or whatever, but nevertheless it still looks really great on 4K, and a great Marvel movie too. Next up, we have Bohemian Rhapsody. The final Live Aid concert looks great in 4K. This movie I used to really like a lot more than most people, and I still like it more than most people, but it's definitely lost its steam over the past year. I've watched it too many times in the past several months, but a great movie and a great looking 4K as well. Bumblebee comes next, and this is a really great movie. It's essentially the Iron Giant, except it's not as good. Haven't seen this in 4K yet, but I'm sure it'll look great. And I seriously want them to make more Transformers movies like this, and not Transformers movies like the Transformers movies. Next up, we got Captain America the Winter Soldier. I didn't get this, my brother did. This is an upgrade from Blu-ray, and haven't seen this in 4K yet, but I'm sure it'll look really great. And same thing goes for Captain America Civil War, which I think will look even better. Haven't seen this in 4K too, but I'm hoping that final battle between Iron Man and Captain America, hopefully that will look great in 4K. Staying in the realm of Marvel, we got Captain Marvel. Great movie. I like this movie a lot more than most people. Looks really great in 4K too. Coco comes next, and this is one of the better looking 4Ks I own. Looks really great, and I just love the movie in general. Very great movie, and a job well done by Pixar. Creed 2 comes next, and this is an awesome movie. 4K looks really great, and is definitely one of the better sequels I've seen in recent years. It is really great, and I love watching this movie. It's so good. Next up, we got The Dark Knight. The IMAX shots in this movie are incredible. They look so good. And the movie itself, one of the best movies ever made. It's my second favorite film of all time. Looks super good in 4K. And we got The Dark Knight Rises, which I think looks a bit better than The Dark Knight in terms of 4K. And probably the best 4K Batman I own. Those IMAX shots are incredible, and the film itself is incredible, and kind of underrated if you ask me a lot. I really do love this movie, and it's one of my favorite films of all time. Super good. Next up, we got The Dark Tower, which I like this movie. It's definitely not a masterpiece or anything amazing, but I enjoyed this movie, and the 4K was actually super good. I think I got this for like $10 on 4K through like coupons and stuff. And for the price that I paid for it, I think the 4K was well worth it. And this is the latest 4K title that I picked up, and that is Dumbo. Still have yet to watch this in 4K, but I'm probably going to sit down and watch it either today or tomorrow to watch it. I really do like this movie, definitely a lot more than most people. I love the original Dumbo movie, and this is a worthy remake of it, I think. I think Tim Burton didn't make this movie overly weird, because, you guys know how Tim Burton is. Next up, this is probably, I would say this is the best 4K that I own in my collection, and that is Dunkirk. Just looks astounding in 4K, it looks very gritty and realistic, and it looks really lifelike in 4K. I've seen this movie a few times in 4K, and it keeps blowing me away. Such a good movie, and looks great in 4K. Next up we have is E.T. the Extraterrestrial, a movie that I've had in my collection for about 2 years now, and I still have not seen this movie. I actually should take that back. I have seen this movie, but I remember literally almost nothing about this movie, so in my eyes, I pretty much haven't seen this movie, and I really should. I really need to sit down and watch this movie. I'll have to do that sometime before summer ends, hopefully. So yeah, E.T. Next up we have is First Man. Not the greatest 4K I own, and that's probably because of the grain film that the director used to shoot the film, but nevertheless, still looks really great, and a movie that a lot of people slept on. I mean, seriously, like, everybody slept on this film, but it was a great movie, and I love watching it. Next up we have is Glass. I think this is a pretty good movie. I really like the conclusion. I would say it's the weakest out of all three of the movies, but it is still a really interesting movie, and one that I was really invested in. I think M. Night Shyamalan did some really cool stuff with it, and the 4K looks great too. Now this one's going to take some explaining to do, but Gods of Egypt on 4K. This was $8 on Black Friday. I figured it was a good price for what seems to be like a guilty pleasure movie. The movie was pretty trash, but the 4K actually looked really great, so I mean, I'm not complaining. I got my money's worth when it comes to the picture quality, so not a great movie, but a really great looking 4K. Next up we have is Green Book. This isn't a film that I didn't really need to get on 4K, because it's really just people talking throughout the whole time, but it still looks really great, still looks really realistic too. And I really do like this movie, and it's kind of weird that this won Best Picture last year, but great movie, and looks great on 4K too. Next up we have is The House with a Clock in Its Walls. I really like this movie. I haven't seen it since the theaters. It's still in the wrapping, but really looking forward to watching this movie in 4K. Next up we have is Inception. Great movie, and great looking 4K too. I love watching this movie. It just gets better and better every time I watch it. The Incredibles 2 is next, a really great looking 4K, and a really solid Pixar sequel. We waited way too long to get this movie, and I'm hoping we get a third one, but that probably won't come until, 13 years from now. It'll probably be a long time before we get a third one, but I'm hoping they do, because we can't have 3 Cars movies and 4 Toy Story films and only have 2 Incredibles films. I think there should be more Incredibles films, but great movie and a great looking 4K too. Next up we have is Interstellar, a super, super great looking 4K. All the IMAX shots are absolutely incredible. Great movie too. It can be a chore to get through the entire runtime. It's a long movie, but it is well worth it, and it looks really, really great on 4K. Jumanji: Welcome to the Jungle is next, a great looking 4K and a very, very fun movie. I definitely love watching this. It's a blast and a half to watch. Jurassic World: Fallen Kingdom. I actually like this movie. I know lots of people think it's pretty trash. I think it's fine though, but I probably should watch it again though, because it has been a year since I last watched it, so I don't know, we'll see, but I have the 4K, still have yet to watch it again, so hopefully it's just as good the second time around. And next we have Justice League, one of the weaker looking 4Ks. I think it's too grainy, and again, that's probably how they filmed it, but this movie is alright. It's not the greatest. I don't hate it. I don't love it, but it's just kind of weird that they already made a Justice League movie. I don't know. It's like, I feel like we should still wait a few years before we get a Justice League movie, but they released one, and I think it was alright. Next up we have is The Kid Who Would Be King, one of the most fun movies I've sat through this year. Makes me feel like I was 10 again, and I just have such a fun time watching this movie, and I really wish that they were making another one, but it bombed at the box office. They're definitely not making another one, but I really wish they did. Great movie, and I love watching it. It really makes me feel like a kid again. Coming up next is Kin, a movie I thought would look great in 4K. It looks alright. It's not the greatest, and that's probably because of how they filmed it. But I thought this was a really interesting movie, and it's one that I have had the urge to watch again, so I'll probably do that sometime soon. Next up we have is La La Land. This was the first film that I experienced in 4K, and it's a very magical movie, very wonderful, and I love this movie, and the 4K looks great too. Next up we have is The Little Mermaid. Believe it or not, I actually do own this movie on 4K Ultra HD. It actually looks really great on 4K, and I do love the movie too. I think it's one of the more underrated Disney films. Not a whole lot of people talk about it, but I think it should be talked about a lot more. And I'm really interested in seeing the live action remake. I'm curious to see how that's going to go down. So, great movie, and it looks great on 4K too. Mamma Mia, here we go again on 4K Ultra HD. I mean, I made a joke about this in my previous video.
You know, Lily James in 4K won't be all that bad.
But Lily James in 4K, whew, that is definitely something. But great movie, looks great on 4K. Mary Poppins Returns. I love this movie. It's wonderful, it's magical, and the 4K looks super great too. This is a film I should watch more often. It just makes me feel so happy inside, and it's a great movie, and Emily Blunt, excellent job as Mary Poppins. Up next we have Mission Impossible Fallout, an epic action film, and one that looks pretty good on 4K, and again, not the greatest. That's probably because of how they filmed it, but it was a great movie and a very good looking 4K too. Next up we have is The Prestige, an awesome movie. It just gets better with every time I watch this movie. Such a good movie, very interesting, very compelling, and one I've showed it to my friends. They were all confused at the end, but it's a film that you gotta watch more and more to really get used to it and to know more about it. So really interesting movie, looks great in 4K. Up next we have A Quiet Place. This is a film that looks great in 4K and a great directorial job by John Krasinski. A really compelling horror film and one that's definitely unique. And I'm really excited for the second one that's coming out next year. Ready Player One is next, looks amazing in 4K. Steven Spielberg did a great job with this film, and I think it's a very fun movie. The dialogue is trash. It's horrible, but I have such a fun time watching this movie, and it was one of the more enjoyable films of last year. Next up we have is Robin Hood. I actually like this movie, and that's all I'm going to say about it. Still have yet to watch it on 4K. Solo, A Star Wars Story. Also a film I like a lot more than most people. I think it's kind of underrated, and it's a very fun movie, looks great in 4K. And Spider-Man Homecoming. This looks great in 4K, and I'm really excited to see Far From Home in 4K. I have no doubt that will be great in 4K too. Spider-Man Into the Spider-Verse. This is tied with the best 4K that I own in my collection, in my opinion, tied with Dunkirk. The colors are so crisp, and it looks so nice and very detailed, and the movie itself is extraordinary. Really great film, and it's definitely my favorite Spider-Man film. It's super good. Up next we have Star Wars The Last Jedi, the final sequence on Crate, I believe. Looks great on 4K. Everything else though looks fine on 4K. And I really do like this movie a lot more than most people, and I'm going to be watching this movie again soon, along with all the other Star Wars films, since Rise of Skywalker is coming out at the end of the year, and I'm super excited for that. But yeah, really great movie, and parts of this definitely look great on 4K. Thor Ragnarok is next, a film that when I first watched it I had a fun time, but wasn't as good as people were saying it was. But I've come to love this movie a lot more as I've rewatched it, and it's definitely a fun movie, and Chris Hemsworth did an excellent job as Thor in this movie. Up next we have Tomb Raider, really interesting movie, a very compelling one, and the 4K looks great too. Venom, I own this movie on 4K. I really love the cover art. The film itself though is very mediocre, not the greatest, but it looks great on 4K, and it's a really interesting movie. War for the Planet of the Apes. This is a film I really need to watch again, but it's going to be one that I'm going to be watching soon, because this year's movie marathon will actually be the Planet of the Apes films, so I'll be watching this again. Really great looking 4K, probably number 2 behind Spider-Verse and Dunkirk. Such a very emotionally gripping film, and it's one that I really do gotta watch again. And last, we have Wonder Woman. Looks great in 4K. The film itself, though, is very forgettable, but it's a good movie, and one that does look great in 4K. So there you guys go. That was my 4K movie collection. I like the format. There are definitely some films that look a lot better than others. It's a great format, and if you guys are 4K collectors, let me know some of your guys' titles that you have. Let me know in the comment section of this video. Thank you guys for watching. Make sure to become a patron on my Patreon page, where I allow for early access to my YouTube videos, so you'll see videos like this early before anybody else on YouTube. Exclusive videos, posts, updates, things like that. Make sure to become a patron It only takes $1 to get everything exclusive to my Patreon page. Make sure to subscribe and follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Letterboxd. All the links for those can be found in the description of this video. And thank you guys for watching, and I'll see you guys next time.